Hey everyone, welcome to the Tom's Hardware podcast for today, August 8th, 2023. As always, I'm Tom's Hardware Editor-in-Chief, Avram Pilch, joined by Associate Editor Les Pounder, Raspberry Pi expert Ash Hill, and our very special guest, friend of the show, Kevin McAleer, who is like, we would like to live in his house because he has all he does is make cool stuff all day. I think. I don't know what else you do, but
probably sleeps once in a while.
But I don't know if you eat or shower or anything, but you make cool stuff all the time, and it's just amazing. And even so, even despite being so busy, his background looks so much neater and nicer than mine. So, what is new? What is your latest project, Kevin?
So I've got a few projects to talk to you about today. I've got Bubo, which I've been working on since February last year. I'll talk to you about that in a second. I've got the Pip Boy, which is like an arm-mounted Raspberry Pi. I have a Chip, if I can point to it just there, which is the latest little robot I've been working on. And I've got some other fun projects like the Googly eyes that Google what they see, and of course, the chicken nugget of doom. So I'll talk to you about a few of these. I've got a presentation for you there. So Bubo Tutti, as I call it. So this is the original idea with this is I wanted a wearable companion robot for the Makers Central event, which was in May this year in the Birmingham NEC. And I wanted it to have a little moving mouth, moving eyes, and one of the eyes would have a Raspberry Pi camera in it, so it could take pictures. It could then do some fancy stuff with OpenCV, CV Zone to detect hand gestures, and then take a picture, tweet it out, toot it to Mastodon, which is why it's called Bubo Tutti, and also it could tweet it out as well. So Instagram, Mastodon, and Twitter, or X as it's now called. That was the idea. So the inspiration, I had this in my mind for quite a while. I remember TikTok, before TikTok, the social media. Right. This was Return to Oz. So yeah, this was kind of an inspiration there. I like the sort of dome shape of it, the riveted steampunk kind of thing before steampunk was even a genre.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And then the other thing was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, that old Disney film from the 54, was it?
Wow.
And the Nautilus.
I rewatched that recently.
Love that film. I love that film. James Mason being very serious in it. But yeah, the ship in it is just gorgeous. Again, steampunk before steampunk was even kind of a thing. So these are the kind of inspirations. And of course, Bubo, the owl from the Clash of the Titans. So I remember this from childhood. I remember seeing this on, it must have been on terrestrial TV as a movie. And it's Ray Harryhausen. He sort of animated this, and it was a clockwork owl called Bubo. Its eyes sort of move around and it could fly around. So again, kind of a steampunk vibe because it's a mechanical owl. So I wanted to do my own version of this. So here's me stood next to NerdForge with Bubo mounted on my shoulder. I'd not quite figured out the weight of this, so it's a little bit top heavy. I've got a tiny little clip I'll show you of me. I'll turn this down a little bit. Of me sort of wandering about with it on my shoulder, and I'm having to hold it like this because it just wobbles off otherwise. But some people are like, what is going on there? And I'll show you it in a second.
The guy's checking it out as he walks by.
So it can tweet images out. It can capture images with the Raspberry Pi camera just using some very basic Python. What else can we talk about there? Yes, the sort of way that all this fits together. I've got the Pi camera that can take pictures, save pictures to the file system. CV Zone will detect hand gestures, so it's looking for two fingers. It doesn't matter which hand, as long as you've got two fingers, and it has to be these two. Then it will count the fingers, check that it's the right fingers that are being held up, and then it'll pass it to the image filter. So this will use Pillow and Pilgrim to apply a filter to the image, so it looks a bit like an Instagram filter. And then it'll then pass it to my social media platform. I call it Wolfpack. Do you remember the Office? Ryan from The Office, he had a thing called Woof, and it would like fax and text and everything if you sent a single message. So I call this Wolfpack. So it'll send a tweet, send an Instagram using, I think it's Tweepy for tweets and Instabot for Instagram. And you can add more to it. It's very simple to do that. So call that duck face originally because you had to sort of do a fancy pose. But yeah, the hand gesture stuff is really fun and surprisingly easy to do. So like the peace sign, you just have to look in the returned array of fingers and you get 0, 1, 1, 0. I think the first one is like your thumb, then it's the other 2 fingers, and then the rest. So it's looking for that.
Yeah,
if it
clever.
sees that peace sign, if you hold that for 3 seconds, so there's a little loop that will just keep going around and count to 3. If it's 3 seconds have elapsed, it'll then take that picture and then tweet it out. So it does actually work. But it was really fun doing the image pipeline, figuring out how to get an image, applying that filter to it, adding an overlay to it. So using the alpha channel from like a ping document and adding that. So you could say, I met Bubo at, Maker Central, something like that. And then you got your final composite. So that was, well, so before that, I'll show you what that actually looks like. If I go over to my desk here, so I've got Bubo. It's all 3D printed, but it looks, you can see the mount there for the GoPro.
Yeah.
It looks like it's...
the paintwork's exceptional on that.
It looks
weathered
metal.
really well.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
So it was a black paint, and then we had this rub-on gold paint that you just sort of rub on and then sort of work in, and you get this kind of weathered look. So yeah, it's quite
Is it
quite easy to do,
PLA?
actually. So if I hold this up here, you'll see his eyes light up. If I just turn off the overhead light for a second, you can see the eyes there. Sort of
That's
glowing.
cool. But the eyelids add a lot of animation.
Yeah, and you can see that the that eye there has the Raspberry Pi camera peeping in it.
Yeah.
If I just fire that again, if I just turn it off and on, it'll just... So this is running on a Servo 2040 at the moment, but it does have the Raspberry Pi 4 inside as well. It's got 2 computers inside. There we go.
What's operating the eyelids? Like, did you have to design the mechanism to 3D print it? Is there like a servo or what's going on?
That's right. Yeah. So there's I've documented that on the Kev's Robots website. If I find that there's a tutorial on how to build that. Actually,
Jim Henson would love it.
Because that was quite a fun thing to put together. Where did I put it? Was it under projects? iMechanism. I'll find it in a minute while you're talking, and then put it up on screen.
Fair enough.
So let me just go back over to here. So yeah, so the next project I was working on then was the googly eyes that Google what they see. So this one, I don't know where the idea for this one came from, but it just occurred to me. Why don't I make some googly eyes that can sort of spin around, look around? I was thinking about X eyes when Twitter's name got changed to X. Remember that on X Windows, there used to be this little desktop app that would look where your mouse is pointing, and it was just 2 googly eyes. So I was thinking about that, and I thought it'd be really fun to make that as a physical thing, and to make the eyes move around. They're simply just like a disc that's off center, so it's pivoted in the middle, and the motors can turn it like left or right, and it looks like it's looking left or right, or together or wherever. And there's just 2 regular kind of motors inside there, and there's a Raspberry Pi camera as well. So what I wanted to try and do on this one was use the OpenAI, which powers ChatGPT. There's a captioning service on there, so you can send it a picture and it will really describe in lots of detail, in whatever tone of voice you would like, what is in that image. It's far more superior to say like an object detection. If there's a cat in this picture, it'll give you a really descriptive view of what's in there. So that's why they Google what they see. And then the next step, which I haven't got around to yet, was just plugging in the speaker to the Pimroni Inventor Hat Mini and having it speak out using the text-to-speech in Python, so it can say what it sees. So that's on the desk as well. So yeah, it uses the OpenAI captioning service. It's very, very simple to do. I think it's about 12 lines of code. It's very, very simple. So then the next one is the Pi Pip Boy. I've always wanted to have like a wrist-mounted computer. I thought this would be another fun thing, maybe take to the Maker Central. I didn't actually end up taking this one with me, but yes, kind of styled on the Fallout game Pip Boy. It's also got a breadboard on there and a little Raspberry Pi Beagle, so you can do projects on the go, and you basically just put your arm through it. So yes, I wanted this so I could basically interface with Bubo and maybe do some coding on the go. So some challenges I had with this one, I actually printed out the entire thing. Everything fit apart from my arm. I'd not factored in the fact that my hand is wider than my wrist. So I'd measured my wrist but not like the parts. So I had to print the entire thing again. It took ages to do that, but I did print it in 2 halves to make it a bit quicker. And printed, I think, 1 half on one printer and 1 half on the other printer to kind of speed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And I also just give it a bit more tolerance, so my hand could fit through there. But yeah, it's really quite fun. Has a Bluetooth keyboard. The battery on that lasts forever, so it's really easy to use that one. It's got a Pimroni Hyperpixel 4 display, so a really nice HD display on there.
Yeah.
Wrist mounted, so you can walk about with this. It's got the Pico on there as well, and it has 2 18650s just underneath the keyboard to power it, so you can plug it in and walk around with it for quite a while. And it's powered by the Raspberry Pi Zero 2W as well.
So when it comes to power, you've got the 18650s. Ah, there we go.
That's it.
I was going to ask
nice
if it was
one.
rechargeable.
Yep, so it's nice and
Excellent.
rechargeable. I do need to make that a little bit more accessible. At the moment, you can get to the charger at the side, but yeah, I just need to make it a little bit easier to turn it on and off. It's just underneath the keyboard at the moment. But yeah, you get quite nice long run times on that, depending on what kind of batteries that you use, what kind of capacity they are. And yeah, it's got a USB-C and a micro USB charging input as well as a micro USB, a USB-A output as well. So that just sits underneath. And you've got the Hyperpixel 4 display as well from Pimroni, 800 by 480. More than good enough to run a Raspberry Pi display on there. And really, I just want to use terminal on it, Pip Boy style. And that's the little Bluetooth keyboard as well. That also has like a micro USB connector on, but you can literally just pull that off the front. It's just friction fit to the front of it. And of course, the Raspberry Pi Zero. So yeah, I'll show you that. That's just on the desk here. So you can just, if I don't have my watch on, maybe, oh, there you go. It fits through there. So that's sort of how it would look on your arm. Maybe go back to the full screen there. You can see the kind of look of it. This is a little bit wobbly. It's likely to snap at any point, but yeah, it's quite usable. The keyboard's there. I mean, look, the keyboard has just come on as I've tapped. So the battery on that lasts quite a while, and you simply just plug in like that to fire it up. But I think the batteries are actually flat on this at the moment, so this isn't going to power up. You've also got an extra dongle if you want to plug in any other accessories on there too. But yeah, it's quite easy to get up and running. So that's the Pip Boy.
Beautiful.
I think I've only got another. Yes, so Chip is next. Chip is a robot I've been working on for quite a while now in the background. It's quite a complicated mechanism, and there's a lot of servos. It has like, is it 19 servos?
Wow.
So it's almost pushing the limit of what you can do with an RP2040 there. But I wanted my own little bipedal robot for experimenting with gestures. I like those little is it Plen? I think it's called. I think this one is almost identical to Plen, but not quite. I have used some of my own design in there. Robosun and Easy Robot as well, a very similar design. And I called it the Cute Humanoid Interactive Pal. It's also a companion robot, so it can sit on my shoulder, so I can have a chip on my shoulder.
Oh, ho, ho.
Could have a good pun. So yes, 19 servos. So yeah, that's quite an expensive build if you're spending like $10 per servo or more. It's completely 3D printable, and all the files are available on KesRobot for free as well. It's powered by a Pimroni Servo 2040. I think that has 18 servos on it, so one servo will not work, or I'll have to double up on it or figure out another way around it. But it can detect movement and respond to it using the ultrasonic rangefinders. I might stick a camera in there or something like that, perhaps in a future one. But yeah, it's capable of doing all kinds of walking, pointing, clapping, running, and that kind of stuff eventually. Just need to get that coded up. Before I go on to the chicken nugget of doom, I'll just show you the. So he's just over here at the moment. I can give him a bit of a wave. There he is. But yeah, he's sort of work in progress. The Servo 2040 there with a few things plugged in, and that's going to go onto the back of the robot. So on the other side, he's going to have like a little backpack, a bit like Asimo. We can see all the different servos. So
which servos are you using?
The servos, I'm using the DS929MG from Pimroni. They're my favorite servo at the moment. They're pretty good quality. They do suffer from that jitter a little bit because they are digital, but they're good enough for this project, to be fair. They're pretty quick. It's quite heavy, it's got to be said. So
it will be, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's any way around that with this kind of robot. But yeah. And then, yes, the one you're probably waiting for, which is the chicken nugget of doom. So the
Saucy.
chicken nugget of doom, this was a Tetris Happy Meal toy that was commissioned by McDonald to celebrate 40 years of the chicken nugget. Only runs Tetris, and it has like a black and white LCD screen. So it's very, very basic inside. There's like a custom PCB. It's got a couple of buttons on it. It only plays Tetris. And it's not like you can actually do anything with the screen because it's very, very low resolution, and there's a big like McDonald's sign embedded in it. You can only also buy them in China, which is quite frustrating. They come as like a Happy Meal, but there's loads of them on eBay. They're between like $5 and $15, depending on how locally you can find somebody who's got one. But yeah, they were very, very popular. So they're all over eBay if you want to pick one of those up yourself. So I decided when I saw this on, I think, was it Adafruit's desk? There was somebody had one in the background, and I was like, what is that? I have to get one of these. So I sought it out, got it shipped over about 2 weeks after I'd bought it. It arrived, and then I immediately sort of had a play with it. In fact, if I go over here, I can show you the little video that I did for social media. I'll not put the music on because you might get copyright striked for that. But yeah, this is what it looks like. It comes in like a little packet, just like a regular Happy Meal.
This is awesome.
It's just like a regular chicken nugget thing. There you go. That's the screen, what it normally looks like. And you've got like the up, down, left, right, A and B, and like another button on it as well. It has a speaker on it for some sound. And inside there's just like a very simple PCB.
I appreciate that the PCB is brown inside. Do you notice that's chicken nugget colored?
Exactly. So I made the chicken nugget of doom using a Raspberry Pi, Raspberry Pi Zero 2W, and a screen from Pimoroni. It's
a wireless nugget.
So it has wireless on it. Yep. It can, it's a wireless chicken nugget. Let's get rid of that now. So yes, I'll see if I can fire this one up and show you this working. I don't think I've got any more on there. Yeah, that's all my stuff I was going to share with you. So let me load up. Let me get this right. So,
I mean, it's cool that it's running Doom, but you could do so much with the Pi Zero 2W in the Nugget. It's like, hold on, let me tweet this on my chicken nugget. And just...
It can run RetroPie, so it can run everything.
Yeah, you can have like a Bluetooth wireless controller. I mean,
exactly.
You could run the McDonald's game for the NES on it. That'd be really meta.
Absolutely. Right. So what I need to do. So there's the screen, the display pack. Pimoroni had some code that they kind of said, we've tried using this library, and it squashes down your desktop into the 320 by 240 display, which is a bit of a squeeze. So, you're not really going to be able to do much on it, but it plays Doom fine. So what I'll actually have to do, if I just go over here, so I'm actually just VNC'd into the Nugget 01. If I go into
sentences you didn't expect to hear.
That's it. The build folder. You have to build this FBCPILI 9341 driver. I have no idea what that stands for, but I do know if you run this, and then we go over to the chicken nugget. Put this up to the screen. Right. So let me load up. Sometimes it does take a little while to get going on there. So confession, the buttons are not working right now. I need to get a custom PCB made for that to be able to interface them onto the GPIO pins, but that should be quite trivial. Yeah. I did last Sunday's live stream show. I think it's just rebooted as well, which is great. Oh, there we go. It's come back on again. That's the great thing about VNC. Let me just fire that up again. So yeah, the display won't come on until you load that driver up. So let me just fire up a terminal and let's go into that again. And then you have to run sudo and then the name of that thing. And then you should see, there you go. It's now mirroring that display. And I've loaded up Chocolate Doom, which is a version of Doom that's been compiled just for the Raspberry Pi. So there we go. So if I go on here, I can do a new game, and we can sort of wonder about with this chicken nugget. Look, it's actually running just completely off a battery there as well, which is pretty neat. There you go. I'm not the best at playing Doom. Yeah, how cool is that? So the next steps
Oh.
there are just to get these buttons with a custom PCB, so that you can actually play it properly, and then maybe put a battery inside there's plenty of space inside there, so there's no problem there at all. The other cool thing was the screen is just about the right size. The Display Pack Mini, I don't know why Display Hat Mini, perfect size for it. There's a little gap at the top and the bottom, but the LCD display that came with it had these two little cushions either side, and they just happened to be the exact right size to get that working there. So
Nice.
yeah, it's really nice. It's nicely made. It's nice and thick, so you can put plenty of things in there. So it's perfect for doing a kind of Raspberry Pi pocket Raspberry Pi kind of computer. So I'll definitely get in the buttons up and running on there very, very soon. As soon as I've designed a PCB for that.
And I've just ordered myself one from eBay for £9 delivered.
You paid less than I did.
Well, I have a question about that, and maybe the answer is obvious because we can't get quite as good of a quality out of 3D printing. But couldn't you 3D print that?
It's not the same, Avram.
It doesn't come in the little cardboard box. That's a nugget box, though.
It'd be quite difficult to the sort of nuggety effect on it. Be quite hard to model. I think it's got kind of a breaded chicken. You can see all the sort of dimples and things in it.
If you did it in two halves, and then you could, you know how there's different nugget shapes. You could like 3D print the other nugget shapes.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, look, to be fair, as much as we all love 3D printing, especially in FDM, like, you know, that kind of smoothness to the model, to the output is not so easy to achieve.
You'd have to resin print it.
You know, you'd be a lot of work for your, you know, for your £9.
That's it.
Yep.
But and you get the buttons, right? So
that's it entirely. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with how that turned out.
I wonder if there's a future project in this where you could have an RP2040 inside and a custom PCB. Because there's a lot of good displays that can run on 2040 and it can emulate old consoles quite
Absolutely.
well. The Make RP 2040 project.
I've got the same. This is the display pack. So there's a exact same display size, but for the Pico instead. So I could use one of these. That's from Pimroni as well. That's the display pack 2.
What retro game would you want to put on there? Burger Time?
Classic, yeah.
Food Fight? You know.
Root Beer Tapper. I quite enjoy that one.
Yeah.
Do you remember Cookie, that Spectrum game back in the day? No.
Which one was that, Kev?
Cookie. I'm sure it's called Cookie. That was a good one.
I remember that one.
Haven't played it, but I am old enough to have seen Bubo in the theater like 5 times.
Wow.
They're also, didn't we see recently on social that there was, I looked this up at one point and found out where it was. There's some store in England that has like a giant Bubo in it.
Yep.
That's cool.
I will seek that out. Yes, you can buy the life-size models, the sort of full height Bubo.
There was one that was, though, it was like life size is the wrong word. It was like giant size. It was like 6 feet tall or 5 feet tall or something, Bubo. Do you remember they showed that somewhere, right? But I think it was unique.
Or something?
It was a unique model. I don't think you can buy it. Not, you know, I don't know if there's a big market for life size for giant size Bubos, but wow, that's, I mean, it's just a really, really impressive stuff. Speaking of robots, Ash, you have been tracking some of the coolest robot projects around right now that, you know, and while Kev dominates the list, I know there are some other ones.
Yeah, it was hard to make a list and not put Kevin on it. So, Kevin, you're not on our list of robot projects today, but we'll love your feedback on these. I just went through our history of stuff that we've covered over the years, and I picked out what I think personally are some of the coolest robots. And it kind of made me think, like, what is a robot? Because a lot of people throw that term around, and maybe we can debate that a little bit. But some of this borders on, like, is this an automaton? Or I don't know. It's fun. So the first one that I'll share with you guys, this is robot arms, because like you can't really talk about robots without talking about robotic arms, but I like that this is controlled using VR controllers, because you can, I don't know, I can imagine a lot of really neat potential with if you had like a full bodysuit or something, or sensors on your arms, and maybe you work at like a theme park or something, like you could interact with people at a distance using VR controllers or some other kind of controller. I like the idea of real-time manipulation of the articulated components in a robotic arm. So that was the first one I wanted to share. What do you guys think about that? Is that something you'd want to play with?
That's so cool.
Yes.
Yes.
Without question.
What would you do with it?
Try and make it cut up things like a carrot or something. Hold a knife. That would be
Reminds
cool.
me of those like surgery robots. Have you seen those surgical robots?
Yeah.
I saw someone like cut open the skin of a grape and like stitch the grape back together.
They're
I
remarkable.
mean, that's insane.
Wow.
I mean, you know, humans have shaky hands, but the robot doesn't translate that shakiness. It's completely rock steady. It's brilliant.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. So the next one I wanted to share with you guys. This is cute. It's a 1980s Omnibot that somebody made a little more advanced, like into the modern era. It's got AI. It uses machine learning. And I like the idea of revitalizing old hardware with a Raspberry Pi and kind of like adding new features, you know, stuff that we're playing with today, ChatGPT, that sort of thing. So while this isn't really a robot built from scratch, I mean, if you love old school robots, Kevin, you'd probably appreciate something like this to have running around your house, making it do whatever you want it to do. It looked rough at first, but they really cleaned it up, and it's super cool. I want to play with it.
That is it. So looking rough like that, it looks like a droid from Star Wars, where it's got like a lived-in universe. It's all grimy.
Yeah. Someone picked it up off Tatooine.
It must have been a really hard decision as well to actually start hacking that to pieces, because you know you might end up with broken robots.
If I'm not mistaken, I think they bought one that wasn't working.
Right.
I might be wrong, but I think they wanted to kind of give life back to something rather than take apart with one of the few that's still working.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing in like I like to do Game Boy mods, and that's a big thing in the community is people like to add backlights to Game Boys. They like to add LCD screens. And I actually had a seller once at a game shop refuse to sell me an old Game Boy because I had mentioned I do mods, and he was afraid I was going to take it apart and ruin a perfectly fine Game Boy. And I was like, no, I have a drawer full of like good pristine Game Boys. I was going to clean it up and maybe fix the capacitors, you know, replace them so they don't ruin it further. And I mean, it's a whole thing. You don't want to hurt old hardware if you can help it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, good point. So the next one I wanted to share with you guys is this beer pong robot. Because if you can't play with your robot, why are you even building it? It's like really fun to watch in action. It just slings the ping pong ball across the room. It can calculate roughly where the cups are supposed to be. I mean, come on. I don't think I have to say much else about this. It's a beer pong playing robot.
Wow.
And the last one I'll share with you guys, because I think it has some neat like real world applications. I think maybe the future's going this way eventually. You see companies putting together assistant robots, and I guess it's been sort of, I don't know how to put it. It's been a thing in like sci-fi for a while, like the idea of maybe life-size robots that go around helping people. Like, yeah, this is that. It's a health conscious Raspberry Pi robot. And we published this a couple of years ago, but yeah, he's pretty cool. They featured it in the Raspberry Pi magazine, and it looks just so neat. It looks like an 80s robot or something. It looks really impractical, but also it's huge. And I don't know, I'd like to have a little health conscious robot follow me around, fetch my medicine or whatever when I'm 80.
Reminds me of that robot from Runaway. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. It's called Lois, wasn't it? It had one arm.
So does the Tomy robot sort of remind me of the robots in Runaway.
Yeah.
That's the second week in a row we've done a Runaway reference.
Yeah, I can't get it off my mind.
We're going to have to shoehorn it into every episode now.
Granted that it, plot-wise and acting-wise, it's not a good movie. Everybody should still see Runaway for the
great.
Robots.
Robot spiders.
The robot spiders, but like the other robots in it.
Yeah, the drones that they had, they call them floaters, didn't they? Like
a
triangle-shaped drone. There
was a lot going on for a movie that was fairly cheesy.
Right? So that's I have a question for Kevin, because those are the projects that I wanted to share, but I went through a lot of projects that we've covered over the years, and some people just throw the term robot on something, and I think they're just slapping a label on it because it's mechanical or it has a servo. What do you think makes a robot a robot?
It's something that can either move under its own control or be controlled. Because I always think about this when you see somebody who's got like a Robot Wars. Really, that's just a remote control thing. It's not really moving under its own steam, its own decision making. But that's cool. That's a robot too. So it's something that's mechanical, mechanical and electrical, I guess, that can either run its own code or can be controlled remotely. That'd be my definition of it.
It's kind of like these days you kind of, if you see it, you know it, but it's a little tricky to define exactly.
Yeah, we've got that many different robots, haven't we? We've got anything from the runaway robot spiders all the way up to transformers, that sort of thing. It's a massive area, and then we can't go into cyborg or android because they're totally different to robots.
Mm-hmm.
If we start talking about cyborgs and android in the show, well, there we go. We have advanced into the future.
But you could consider those things robotic.
You could do.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've got a definition on my own website.
Hey!
Yes.
It's a machine, especially one programmed by a computer, capable of carrying out a complex series of actions automatically. Robots can be guided by an external control device, or control may be enabled within. There you go.
Like it.
So, Les, what are the projects that have been on your plate this week?
Different things, I can say. Well, first of all, microbit. I've not been doing much Pi recently. I've been doing microbits. I've not been doing a lot of that for a while. So I'm going to go to overhead camera so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. So this is Rekabit, REKA:bit. And it's a board from Cytron. And it's a breakout board for the microbit. And there's a microbit version 2 in the center. And it's pretty much a robot exploration board for kids in classrooms. So I've got it wired up to some Lego motors, as you can see here. I've got some NeoPixels with flashing lights at the bottom. And I've got a load of Grove connections at the bottom for plugging into different Grove components. And this board only costs $18. And it's really simple to use. So I can use motors like this. I can use servos. Got a power switch. I've got a buzzer. All the usual things you expect from a Cytron board. And I've got a really simple script run on here, and it's all written in the microbits block language. So it's really easy to use. So right now it's just saying, okay, when button A is pressed on the microbit, spin the motors. The LEDs, the NeoPixels, they're running off their own accord. They've got another piece of code running concurrently that just says, choose a random color, show the color. That's it. And it's taken about 8 blocks to get this to work. And you can see the motor works when I press the A button. But something else that's on here, and it comes with all Cytron motor boards, is you've got some test buttons down here. So if you connect the motors and you run your code and the motors don't spin, you've got to diagnose 2 faults. Is it hardware? Is it software? So you initially think it could be software, and you spend 20 minutes changing code and it still doesn't work. Well, with these boards, you've got test buttons on the side here, and I can press them to get direct access to the power.
That's neat.
There you go. Good bit of fun. It's good for classrooms, so the kids can see that if something's gone wrong, what has gone wrong, they can debug it quickly. So I'm doing a review on this. It's going to take me a little while, so I've got some more things on the fire right now. But a little sneak preview. It's Lego compatible, and it comes with some Lego bricks stuck to it already. And I have quite a lot of Technic Lego, so I wonder what mechanical monstrosity I can create.
A chicken nugget.
Chicken nugget of doom on wheels.
Yes.
I've also got these little fellas here. This one's a microbit powered.
Oh.
This one is a Raspberry Pi Zero powered.
Nice.
They've kind of got that vibe of if they had 6 legs, they'd be the there you go. A bit like the robots from Runaway.
Yes. Yes. So before we go, I know we've been running a while. I want to talk about our biggest Raspberry Pi story in a while, which is the scooters, which Ash wrote about.
That was a neat find.
Yeah, so that story has been kind of viral for like the last few days. A lot of people reading it, still reading it.
That's cool.
Yeah, and um, so for folks who don't know about it, Ash, tell everybody what you found out.
So in the city of Seattle, they have a couple of companies that are authorized to do scooter rentals, and they have to get permits to do that. And the company Spin didn't renew their license for this year. So what's happened is they have scooters all over the city that I don't know if they're planning on picking them up. They haven't picked them up, but everybody else has noticed them. And somebody picked one up and took it apart because that's fun to do. And inside they found a Raspberry Pi 4. So all of these spin scooters all over the city have Raspberry Pi 4s inside. And I think they have, it looks like, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it. I want to say Noir, the no IR camera module.
Yeah.
They have those
Pi
attached to
Noir.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, there's the picture of it. There's Pi 4s just scattered about Seattle. So if you're living in the area and you can't find a Pi 4, maybe you can find a spin scooter.
It's like a scavenger hunt for tech, isn't it?
It just seems so overpowered. I don't know what they're using it for. So if you're in Seattle and you have one, I mean, they've got a neat little hat on it too, it looks like. But
Yeah.
tell us what it's running. What does it do? Maybe we can figure out why they chose to use a Pi 4. It just doesn't seem like the most practical option. But
Looking at it, we've got the Pi Noir camera, so that's going to be using for nighttime vision of some sort, low light. The hat that's on top is a grouping together. Looks like power and GPS. The GPS module on the top with two aerials. So that's going to be relaying its position. The hat's also going to have, it's got an inductor on, so it's going to have something to control the power going into the Pi from the battery.
I wonder which model it is, like what Pi 4, like how much memory it's got.
Very true, yeah. Probably a low end one, probably about 2 gigs, something like
You
that.
would hope.
You don't need a lot, do you, really? I'm interested in the extra hat that's on top, the extra breakout board, which has 3 white plugs connected to it. It's on the left of the Pi. I can't identify what those are. Possibly some sort of control board, because there's a lot of wires coming out of one of them. There's about 8 to 10 wires coming out.
So what if they have SD cards in them or something else? Because SD cards don't have a very long life, do they, for Pis?
No, if you don't shut the Pi down correctly, it can corrupt it.
And then your scooter's gone if you can't find it.
Yeah. So it's not booting from a USB. We can see there's no USB connected to it at all, because the ribbon cable for the camera blocks it. We've also got a board at the back that I can't identify, but it looks like it's got the same black wires that are coming from the daughter board almost on top of the hat. Interesting.
Don't you just want to get your hands on it and check it out?
Yep. Can we expense a flight somewhere, perhaps?
And you know what's frustrating is for so long people complained about not being able to find a Pi 4, and then all these companies are just chucking them in scooters all willy-nilly. Lucky.
Yeah, I mean, one thing though to consider is we don't know if they have abandoned them officially or whether the company still wants them back and people opening these. So I don't want to give people the advice to go open these up and take them, because I don't know whether I don't know whether they're actually abandoned officially or that's you're stealing something. And it's quite possible that the reason that they have a GPS in there and a camera is so that someone can go collect them, can locate and collect them. So I have taken the liberty of doing something we probably could have done the other day, which is I wrote to their PR to see if we'll get a response about this. We'll see. Maybe they'll write me back, maybe they won't. And I asked them, are you planning to keep, are you planning to come collect these? Should people call you and give it to you? And what was the Pi for? So I guess we'll find out. But it's fascinating that they used this. One thing we really don't hear a lot about is where Pis are being deployed in industrial products. I mean, when we have Evan Upton on the show, he's always saying, "Oh yeah, we have a huge base of industrial clients.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you, but I can't really name, aside from this, I can't really name anyone who's used a Pi 4 or even in a product.
I know one by name, that's NEC, the monitor and TV company. They used to use the compute modules in their setups. But in the UK, I've seen companies, I don't know the names of the companies, but they've used compute modules and some older Pis inside charging units for external vehicle charging, EV charging. But someone did a teardown and found a specific model that was made for that. We did a story on it about 18 months ago.
Right.
A specific model that was made just for this application.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm always curious to see where it's actually being used inside of something, and we'd love to know how it's being used. So if anybody knows anything about this, please drop us a line. What they were using it for, all that stuff.
On the Raspberry Pi subreddit, every now and then you'll see a tag on post that says a wild Pi appeared, and it's a cute Pokemon reference. And if you look through those, most of them seem to be just display panels at like grocery stores. Like they'll chuck a Pi Zero W on there and just use that to update their, I don't know, PowerPoint with sales and stuff like that. Or I've seen them also used as menus at restaurants and stuff like that.
IKEA uses them for their point of sale, their displays in store.
There you go.
That's one. But the restaurant one, the takeout, there was a place, I can't remember where now, and they had about 4 or 5 in this big sci-fi themed elaborate set. It was a noodle bar, and it was just controlling different screens showing what the menus were, but also some blinky lights and that sort of thing.
We should
have them proud on show so you could see them.
We should probably have like we have a Raspberry Pi projects page. We should probably have a like in the wild article or something that talks about only like professional uses of it in a store or in a like product, like a shipping product or something.
And if they're using the GPIO, they get bonus points, because it's one thing just to use it to cycle through pictures and video, but like Les said, if you've got LEDs, it's like, well, you're actually using it makes sense to use a Pi and not something smaller. There's plenty of smaller boards that are probably more affordable that you could use to cycle through pictures and videos.
Yep,
very true.
I've heard of some companies using them for footfall measurement in shops. So when people like enter a shopping area or pass through a doorway and it triggers a sensor, it's just there collecting the counts from that. So I know a company uses that. And I also saw them, they do get used a lot for displays, don't they? So there was, I was in holiday in Rome, and on the side of this building, they had this great big sort of animation of things happening, all being projected. There were 6 projectors, and they were all driven by an array of Raspberry Pis, because when they booted it up, you saw the 4 Raspberry Pis appear. I was like, what?
That's neat.
So that happened.
All roads lead to Pi.
that is very cool. Well, thank you so much, Kev, for joining us again today. We always love having you on this show. It's such an honor and a privilege. And thanks to everybody for watching and listening. We'll be back next Tuesday, the 15th, at our usual time of 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK time. And we'll see you all then. Bye, everyone.